Good morning, everybody. So it's my pleasure today to be delivering the keynote and about the important role that digital technology is playing in the railway industry. I'm going to try and give you a flavour of what's to come today, as with the help of Dave Woods and Kate Hatwell and the rest of the committee. We've put together today's seminar to hopefully inspire and enhance your knowledge of digital delivery in the railway industry. So we've been doing this conference now for about 13 years, and we're very aware that we're very lucky to have such a broad range of expertise attending, including designers, maintainers, owners, and construction. And no longer just from the permanent way discipline, the PWI is hoping to offer a home to all disciplines under its institutional umbrella, well, except for signalling, because they're quite frankly a bit of an odd bunch. Joking, signalling can come along with that. So digital has been around for a while now, and we're all pretty familiar with the benefits that digital can bring, such as integrated models during interdisciplinary design checks, or 3D models guiding dozers on site during construction, to clash detection, and most recently geofencing that Jules from Tended will explain this afternoon. We also have new data capture techniques such as point cloud, drones, and the innovation from One Big Circle, which we'll also hear about later today. So of course there are great examples across the industry where digital has saved time, money, avoided costly mistakes, made construction safer, and we're even starting to see the occasional full life cycle model, which of course is the utopia of digital delivery. And I'm not going to talk about BIM or digital twins or life cycle model definitions, as I'll leave that up to our excellent presenters today. I want all of us here today, and similar to what Joan was saying a minute ago, to try and think about the processes in between design, survey, construction, and maintenance. Is the data that we're producing flowing through each grip stage and beyond as well as it should? Could we all be working close together? And is that information going all the way to the end of the life cycle of the asset? So I've worked on TRU for the past 6 years, and as you'll see in the presentations this morning from Nick from Bentley, from Alison, Raymond and Shervin from TRU, they've utilised the digital information generated by all disciplines to look at construction, sustainability, safety and project delivery efficiencies. And it feels like it's a huge step in the right direction. But we've seen all these projects before, and we've been using computer-aided design since I started in the industry, although there may have been 1 or 2 drawing boards kicking about. And I'm frustrated because the amazing information models, such as Victoria Station Upgrade, which we can see here, that seem to be on every single web page and industry magazine, started information modelling in 2006, and it completed construction in 2018. And it was seen as essential for the construction work because obviously it's all underground. Now I'm not sure if that digital model went on to be used as an asset for maintenance, or whether we can even still open the data with today's software. And that's another issue we need to solve with digital. So the Victoria Station Upgrade is an example that was initiated over 17 years ago. And although not essential on all projects in this level of detail, we haven't moved on in the leaps and bounds that we expect of other industries and technologies. So to use the car analogy, my car is 17 years old and it has a CD player. So if we were being asked to use CDs in the rail industry, while other industries were using Spotify and iTunes, we'd want to do something about it. But is that where we are today? So it's not just about the technology, because this has moved on. We've got computers now that can crunch these massive models during meetings, and the new software adds more functionality. And in meetings we use 3D federated models to discuss design and construction issues of exactly what we're going to build. So it's a cultural issue, and it's not just the railway. But we are a slow-moving beast. The railway is a slow-moving beast. And we're quite set in our ways. Name another industry that uses miles, yards, chains, meters, and millimeters in the same sentence during a meeting. To give you an example, I was sat in a meeting in Network Rail not so long ago, and it was attended by folk from all over the country, and there was an asset manager or a maintainer who asked the question, when will we get a 3D asset model that designers are producing to allow us to maintain and understand what is built on site and allow us to manage our asset? So I nearly fell off my chair. This is a maintainer who designers see as, stuck in their ways and just wanting to use paper drawings. But this is somebody who really wanted to embrace the technology. But more that they could see the benefits of the technology. And the answer that came back was no time soon, as we don't have the systems to cope with the data. And once again, I nearly fell off my chair. And in hindsight, they probably should have fitted seatbelts, because it happened quite a lot during that meeting. But it was really disappointing, and I felt really deflated, because there right in front of me was one of the blockers of why the data isn't flowing through the whole workflow and the whole life cycle of the asset. So the cost of the systems is an issue for sure, but it's more about the culture and the behaviour within the industry. And I've been involved with, for example, ProjectWise for 20 years now, and how many times have you heard people complain about ProjectWise, or they don't want to use it, or the password's not working, only for a few months later for them to request a link to allow them to workflow the submission, because they know it's easier and it is a lot simpler. So ProjectWise is really good, and that's a tiny shift in the culture and the behaviour, because that has now become the norm throughout the industry. And ProjectWise is great most of the time. So there are more and more contractors no longer wanting drawings, they're wanting 3D models for steel fabrication and precast bridges. Yet Permanent Way, in particular, can't let go of the drawings. And our designs don't even fit on drawings. They're 4 meters long, bits of paper blowing down the cess at 3 a.m. in the morning when they're being used on site. So we take tablets out and we take laptops and we just create drawings in PDF form. And there's a reason for that, because this is the culture that people are so used to seeing drawings that that's all they want to see. But why not use one model in real-world coordinates that can still display all the data, the risks, the instructions, the dimensions, the weld positions, but in one file that can be viewed from any angle, and we can turn on multidiscipline data with a click of a button. It's possible right now, it's been possible for years, but that's another shift, another tiny shift in culture and behaviour. So this kind of links in what we'll see today from Simon from SPL Powerlines and Luke from Heavy Fire. It's not all bad news. We're good at some things. Our asset is long and very thin. And looking out on a laptop screen that's 17 inches, 432 mil, 0.02 chains, is a really difficult thing to do, especially when you're on site. So when you step back to what BIM was trying to achieve in 2006 with the VSU model, the P-Way design engineers had for several years already been producing 3D parametric models, outputting data in various reports, diagrams and graphs. And what was even more impressive is the asset was then being maintained using those 3D models. And this was, of course, through alignment design that was being used on the West Coast main line. Simple, but now finally being used across the country. And Errol and Anthony are here this morning to talk about managed track position. So I want to share one last item, and it's back to TRU. This is a viaduct outside Manchester, Victoria, and there are various works happening as part of the Trans-Pennine route upgrade. And one of the civils were carrying out inspections of one of the piers, and They're drilling a core in the abutment that you can see there, and water started pouring out in quite some quantity. So clearly we'd hit a water main in a bridge abutment, which didn't sound right. So what they'd actually discovered, once the water subsided and they put some cameras in there, was it was the chutes in the Gothic arches. And these were installed as part of the original bridge, been forgotten about, and they were there to drain the structure. So this was a problem because now we had chutes that would probably have lids. And this is a problem for P-Way because the bar's depth was already less than generous. None of the trial holes had picked up anything that resembled a lid, so we needed to know where these were because we were taking off all the S&C outside Victoria, and we didn't want it to be a problem. So we looked back at the records, and the only evidence we found was an archive drawing, and some of these structures date back to 1842. I'm informed that some of those drawings date back to 1842. But it's okay, because we knew that this structure, or sorry, the S&C was renewed and remodelled in the late 90s. So CAD was around then, we'll be able to find that data. We'll be able to find the as-builts. Unfortunately, nothing could be located. And we asked all sorts of people that are still around from that particular point, who were involved in the construction earlier on in their careers, but no recollection of the chutes. So that's an example of, where we could have really done with the data, but it wasn't available. So what we did is we came up with a plan. We spoke to the RAM. We let them know that we were going to have spare lids. We were going to record them and photograph them, and then they were added to the federated model at the end of the works. So now we have a record. But I do wonder if in 30 years' time, when I'm sat in my 50-year-old car listening to my CDs, I'll get some sort of hologram video call asking me, do you remember where the chutes were outside Victoria? So I want to close today with a call to action. It's kind of up to you to make that change. It's that tiny shift in what we do today to start making the big difference. Take one thing away from our presenters, as Joan mentioned, and implement it in your work. Keep asking the maintainers what design information would make their life easier. Work with construction on what data would reduce risks on site. Use a surveyor that does point cloud as standard. And listen to each other, and do not be afraid to suggest change, and certainly do not wait for the client to ask for it. Thank you for attending today. I hope you have a great time listening to some wonderful speakers, and if you'd like to discuss anything, let's have a chat. Thank you, everybody.